Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a video about the interviewing process for cabin crew. I interviewed back in 2018 for TUI and Jet2 and was successful in both of the interviews. I'm going to be talking mainly about the TUI interview as that's what I remember most, but I'll add in a couple of things that happened in the Jet2 interview to make this more of a general video. So even if you aren't going to the Jet2 or the TUI interview, then maybe you'll be able to use this video as a reference for what you can expect at your interview. If you're still looking for a cabin crew job and you haven't actually applied for anything yet, they normally look for cabin crew around September to November time, the summer before you start. So I created a notification thing where Indeed would send me any cabin crew jobs that would come up straight to my email, and I would apply as soon as I seen it. They normally give you about like 10 days to apply for it type of thing. So after you've sent away that you want to apply for the job, then you would get the initial like application. For example, I don't remember Jet2's exactly, but I remember that TUI's was like, tell me why you want this job, why would you be good for cabin crew, and you had, I think it was like 500 words or something like that to tell them. No, maybe it wasn't quite that much, maybe it was like 300. It was like an amount anyway that was quite a big box of like why you should be picked for cabin crew. And then there was like 14 scenarios where there was like multiple choice where you had to decide what you were most likely to do in that situation. I can't remember any of the scenarios if I'm being honest with you, but most of them were just like common sense. And then you send that away and wait to hear back from them to see if you were successful in this round of the interview. There is a lot of stages to the interview. There's like 3 stages to the interview. It's a hard interview. If you're successful after that round, you will get an email to say that yep, that you were successful. We got that. After you got the email to say that you were successful, TUI asks you to do a video interview and Jet2 asked you to do a phone interview. So I done both of these. Both of them do loads of revision for, loads of prep for it, do loads of research on the questions they're going to ask you. If you kind of get like answers that are general and you can adapt them to like other questions, for example, taking skills from like, say you've done a hospitality job and there's like customer service, you can use that and then say that you've got a job and experience with customer service, and then that's a very adaptable answer that you can use for pretty much any question. But I would say after you've used that one thing, that's it. Don't use it again. They don't want to hear the same thing over and over, but have like a bank of like all these skills that you think are relevant to cabin crew that you've done in a last job. I know it can be hard, it's not going to be a walk in the park, this interview. So for the Jet2 phone interview, they set a date and a time. I think it was like a half-an-hour period where you had to be free to pick up the phone. I had all my notes in front of me for this phone interview. I tried to have them all on one page so I wasn't like flipping through paper on the phone because they can hear that, or if it was on another side I would be very careful when I was flipping it over. I also had everything in bullet points so I wasn't just reading, because you want to make it sound natural the way you're speaking, and you don't want to be like a robot reading off a piece of paper obviously. So bullet points just for like triggers in your mind. Practice like loads of different answers, and then like say it was like, again, hospitality, customer service, and then like a little like brackets about a couple of things I would mention, like this one time I helped a customer do this, just, you know what I mean, just like little triggers in your brain, so when they're like asking you a question on the phone, then you just be like, oh okay, I'll answer that. You don't need to worry about really your appearance or anything, because obviously it's just over the phone. You could literally be sat in your bed if you want it to be, but make sure you have your notes, that you're ready, that you've done your research on the questions that they're going to be asking you, and present yourself in a professional way because this is a professional job. And also just again, make sure there's a quiet background. You're taking the phone call somewhere that you won't be embarrassed to take it. So for example, don't plan your date badly and end up on the train home when you have to pick up the phone. That's not very professional. Try and make sure you have a quiet space, and practice your answers out loud as well. That's another thing. You can write for days and days and have loads of research, but if you don't actually say them out loud, they might not sound right. So by the time you get to the interview and you're like, ah, then they don't sound right, and that's not good. That's pretty much all there is to say about the phone interview. Second stage of the TUI interview was a video interview. For this one, I would dress appropriately. Definitely again prep for this. When I done my video interview, I had a notebook perched up like right next to where I was filming, with like all my bullet points, so like I could like gaze my eye over ever so often without like taking my eyes away from the camera too much. So I was all set up for that, my lighting and everything was sorted before I started. Dress like you're going to the interview for this, because this is the first time they see you. I know that looks shouldn't be everything, but obviously if you're going for a professional job, look like that you're professional enough to have the job. So have your hair all cabin crewy, have your makeup all cabin crewy. Don't do anything crazy with your makeup, just basic makeup but like professional. I was wearing a shirt in mine with like a black jumper over the top of it because they can only see like here up, so like professional. Present yourself well. For the video interview, it's a bit different than the phone interview because they're like, I feel like after you've answered on the phone, that's it, the answer's gone. On the video one, I think you've got 1 or 2 do-overs, or maybe it was a bit more than that, but you got do-overs, so there was a bit more pressure on it. So if you messed up, you could be like, oh my god, was that one good enough, or will I redo it? So then you can press redo. But before you go into the video interview, I highly recommend practicing your answers kind of like a script and fully have an answer in your head ready to go for these things. I'm pretty sure you can do research enough like on these little like form pages. They give you like they give you the questions that they're going to ask in the interview, so you can prep answers for them, because that's what I done. Yeah, I just had to fight with a wasp. Surely I'm just hearing things. Anyway, I don't even remember where I got. I'll try and find some form pages and link them down below. I'm not sure if all the same ones that I used will still be there, but I'll have a little look and see what I can find. Any research resources, I will tag them down below for you. Another thing for the video interview, is make sure you have a quiet space and somewhere that you won't feel embarrassed to record yourself. Because I know that recording yourself isn't for everyone. It's quite intimidating, especially when you have like family members in. Like for example, I literally have waited for all my family to leave for me to film this video. I picked a day that nobody was going to be in, so I'm not embarrassed by somebody coming in and being like, what are you doing? I'm getting pretty nervous now ever since that wasp came in. There's like one kicking about here. Whew. Anyways, there is also at the start of the video interview some practice questions. So I would definitely like 100% recommend using the practice videos because they've really helped me, so they did. And yeah, that's really all my tips for the video interview, is prepare for it. So I think you have 7 days after you get the video interview to complete all the videos. So definitely use all those days to like research. Even if it's on the very last day that you hand it in, it doesn't affect anything when you hand it in. It's just how you perform, isn't it? Well done, you've made it to stage number 3. We have passed the phone interview, we have passed the phone interview / video interview, and we have made it to the assessment day. Jet2 assessment day was only slightly, well, it was a bit easier than the TUI one, I have to admit, but the TUI one was more suited for me, so that's the job that I picked in the end. Before you go to the assessment day, make sure that you buy an outfit or if you already have clothes, you obviously don't have to buy something, but wear something that makes you look like an air hostess. Plain and simple, like skirt, little mini heels, like you don't have to go over the top, but my advice is to definitely look like a cabin crew before you go, because everyone that got sent home didn't dress appropriately. Only people that dressed appropriately got the job. I don't know if that's again based on performance, but just what I saw on the day was the only people that dressed appropriately got through to the next round. So please dress appropriately. Dress, again, hair back, bam, makeup, pretty much like this. I wore smaller lashes on the day. These aren't too big, but I would probably be fine with this. No heavy makeup, just pretty casual, pretty natural. I wore like a shirt tucked into like a midi skirt and tights and some little heels. I don't think I have a picture of it because, if I'm being honest, I didn't like my outfit. It's not very me, but obviously it was an interview. Straight off the bat, it's brutal, very brutal. You could get your feelings hurt. I know if I hadn't got through the stages, I would have cried on the way home 100%. Because obviously you psyched yourself up for this day so much. It's very brutal. Another tip for the assessment day, they will be assessing you the entire time you are there, so I don't assume that any of you guys are going to be gossips, but don't like go to part of the interview all happy and then at lunchtime go and gossip to someone, because they're watching you the whole time. Everything you're doing is being assessed, so even while you're eating your lunch. Also socialise, because everyone else is just as nervous as you are. It's good to make friends during this thing. You guys can bounce off each other. It helps you feel a lot more secure on the day and a lot less nervous. Again, I'm hearing these wasps. So the first thing in the Jet2 interview was we were all lined up, and when we got to the front of the line we had to take off our heels, stand up against a wall and check our height. They also asked us what tattoos we had and they took a note of them to see if it was appropriate, because obviously for being cabin crew you can't have visible tattoos, and if you do they have to be easily covered up. So I have one on my ankle, but it's very easily covered up. I could just stick a plaster over it and no one would really be looking at my ankle anyway, and it's not that big, it's like that size. Unfortunately at this point, if you are, I think it's 5'2", it's either 5'2" or 5'3", it's somewhere actually, like somewhere around there. If you're smaller than that you will be sent home then and there, that you are too small to have the job, because you need to be able to reach the overhead lockers properly. Obviously because of in an emergency, if you were needing to get that equipment, you were too small to get it, that's not any good, because obviously it's up to you to get that equipment. So if you're too small you will be sent home right then and there, unfortunately, which is very heartbreaking for a lot of people, because there was people on the day that actually got sent home, and it was very sad to see that they've made it this far, prepared themselves all for this interview just to be told you're too small. For TUI it wasn't as brutal as that. I know that they checked your heights, but TUI wasn't as fast for tattoos as Jet2 was. I don't even think they even bothered asking. I don't think so. But the first thing with the TUI interview was that we all got taken into this room and they all introduced themselves, and they gave like a little PowerPoint about who they were, what TUI was doing, excited to see us, all that type of thing. Was very comforting. So it was nice to just see that they were very excited and tried to make the day very fun. From now on out I'm just going to be talking about the TUI interview, just to save any confusion. So from this point onwards I'm going to be talking about the TUI interview. Stage 1. So this is the first half of the day, is your group assessment. There will be a lot of big characters because everyone obviously wants the job. Do not be intimidated by them. Do not give up your space. Even if you're a bit of an introvert, this is your time to try your best to push past that if you want this job. Be sure to say something in every part of the assessment, whether it's just a little bit of like agreement, a little bit of just something. If you say nothing, they will see that you don't seem confident enough. Like, make sure you're always saying something and joining in and trying to present yourself in a good way, because obviously you're getting assessed. If you don't say anything, then obviously you don't give the assessors anything to work with, so then you're automatically just going to be failed. Every time you're asked questions, try your best to like talk, pretty much. I think there was about 60 people at my interview. We got split into 3 groups, and this was the order of my interview, but obviously there was 3 groups and there was 3 different activities, so they would just like round robin, like swap things as and when the other group was done. So my first thing that I had to do was make a PA announcement, which you should definitely research what is to be said in a PA announcement before going into this. You cannot go in with a prepared PA announcement. You on the day get given a magazine and you get told to pick a product from that specific magazine and make a sales announcement about it. I picked a Clarins product that was like an eyebrow pencil and an eyeliner that was double-sided, and it was like on a deal, so I made like an announcement about that and was basically like, good morning ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard your flight, all that type of stuff. And then after, I think you got 5 minutes to write it, and then you had to stand up and say it out loud to your group. This is one part I was actually quite intimidated, I can't lie to you. There was a lady that was ex-cabin crew who had obviously done these PAs like thousands upon thousands of times before, and she stood up to say hers and she was the first person to go, and I was like, oh, Mine doesn't sound like that. Uh-oh. But again, do not let yourself be intimidated by these people. Because in the end, even though that girl was cabin crew before, I got the job over her, which still blows my mind. Obviously I'm not slating anyone for not getting the job. I'm not throwing shade, but it's just that type of thing. Don't be intimidated by people, even if you feel like they're going to get the job over you, because it's your interview, it's you that wants it, so you fight for what you want, okay? Getting all inspirational here. Yeah, so there was a sales pitch announcement thing, and then obviously they gave you a flight. You were like, welcome aboard the Tenerife flight to Tenerife, obviously at 6:15. Your captain is my name is Alex. Yeah, that type of thing. And then you had to read that out as well. The guys that were taking my interview were really funny. They kept making jokes about things, made things very fun, so they did. This part was the part I was like, oh no. So the next part of the interview for me was a maths test. I think there was like 21 questions and you had like 15 minutes to complete it. It was the time that really done it for me. I was like, oh no. Because if I'm being honest with you, I didn't even get, well, I just scraped basic maths at school. So when I got this sat in front of me, I was like, oh, I have 15 minutes to complete this. But I must have done all right. I don't know what my final mark was on it, but I don't remember if you got calculators or not. I'm pretty sure it was all in your head. No, there was calculators, so there was calculators, but still, it was like, they were actually quite hard questions, because I was like, oh, it'll just be like basic maths, but they were actually quite hard. So I don't know, I can't even give you any tips on the maths, but just make sure you can add 1 + 1 and just hope for the best, you know. Well, there's not really much prep you can do for the maths test because it's all based on your abilities, and obviously the questions will be different every single time. The next part of the assessment was you got a sheet of paper with 12 problems put in front of you and a little column to rank them from 1 to 12, 1 being which one was most important and 12 being which one was least important. After you'd filled out your order, you went back to your group and you discussed it as a group where you had put your 1 to 12 and then compared it to where other people had put their 1 to 12s, and you came up with a group version of the exact same thing. So this is again where I'm saying don't say nothing. Definitely, even if there's somebody that's like kind of taking charge of the group, even make sure that you're like, oh yeah, I get that, but I think this. And then, or if you agree, just be like, yep, cool, I agree, I think that's perfect. Be sure to speak here, because obviously they're seeing you. If you're just sat there looking at your piece of paper while you let this other person take control, you're obviously being marked on your teamwork here. Sorry, I didn't mean obviously, but like you're being marked on your teamwork. So be sure to talk and work on this as a group, because you've already had your chance to do it on your own, so do it as a group now. After this part of the assessment day, it was then lunchtime. So me and the girls that I had made friends with went to McDonald's for an hour class. We were all stressing because after you came back from lunch, the entire 60 people got split into 2 groups. From then, they decided when one group was getting sent home and the other group was being kept for the second part of the assessment. So as you were hearing the names being called out after lunch, you were kind of in your head trying to decide if you thought that person would be in the group that like was going to be sent home, or if you thought that person was going to be in the group that was going to be kept. And to my surprise, the people that were in the opposite group from me, I was like, oh my god, they're the group that's going to be kept. Because it was like that girl that I was saying that was ex-cabin crew, this girl that I was talking to the whole time that was so like bubbly and amazing, and TUI looks for personality on these days, and that's what they hire on, is personality. So be sure to put yourself across as your genuine self, because that's exactly who they want. But yeah, they were all in the other group and I was like, oh my goodness. Then you get taken away into 2 separate rooms, and then they're like, you're the group that's going home or you're the group that's being kept. But obviously I was the group that was being kept, and everyone was cheering, and then the assessors were like, hold on, shh, because obviously everyone else is being told they're going home, and you were like, oh. It's very brutal, it's very sad. So it's obviously you're happy for yourself, but then yeah, not very nice. And then I had to go and say goodbye to my friend, and like, obviously she was holding back the tears, and I was like, no. So I really hope she became a cabin crew in the end. I actually don't keep up with her because I only met her on the assessment day. But yeah, it was very sad. After that, when you make it to the second half of the assessment, it is kind of, this is where it's all you. You're not in a group anymore. It's like you trying to sell yourself. The first part was roleplay. You got sent in like down the corridor on your own, 1 by 1, into these little rooms, and when you go into them there is kind of like a scenario. There's 2 assessors in there. The first one you go into, you have to pretend to walk down the aisle like with a little trolley, like pretend, and you're like, hello, can I help? And the lady was like, I would like a bacon roll. But at the start of the role play you got given like a little brief and you were basically told there's no bacon rolls. And I was like, oh, I'm really sorry, there's no bacon rolls, I can offer you this instead. And they're like, oh, I don't want that. And I'm like, I'm really sorry about that. I know it's not on that we don't have any bacon rolls, all that type of stuff. Trying to show your customer service skills and how you would react if this had happened. Again, trying to offer a different product. I have a ham and cheese toastie. I know it's not bacon, but it still has the same type of products in it. She's like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll take that. And you're like, yeah, okay, I'll go get that for you. Really sorry again for the inconvenience. I'll get that made up for you just now. That type of thing. Trolley back, make the cheese toastie, give it back. Anyway, that was scenario 1 for me. Scenario 2, I was taken into a room, and again, then the trolley, to this customer, hello, how can I help you? And she's like, oh, I just got engaged. Oh, I almost stuck up a finger there. Oh, I just got engaged. Oh, wonderful. Can I offer you a bottle of champagne just as like a congrats? And they're like, yeah, lovely, I'd love one. And I'm like, oh, like, I can't remember what I asked, but I asked like questions about the engagement. I don't even remember what I asked. I was like, oh, congratulations, you two. Was that what the holiday was for? Was like an engagement? And she was like, yeah, like you surprised me, and I'm like, oh, congrats guys. And that's kind of what they're looking for, is just you being like customer service friendly. You're allowed to have fun with this because obviously again, TUI looks for personality. So again, you can pretend to have a wee trolley, but you're being assessed. So still be serious, but like show your personality. Then after the role play was the final part of the assessment, and this part was the part that took the longest because it was the one-on-one interviews, and obviously they have to go into quite a amount of depth from that. One of the main questions I remember from this is like, when have you had yourself in a high pressure situation? I used when I was in the army cadets, and obviously we had guns and rifles and stuff, so that was quite high pressure because obviously I had to be in control of the firearm. But yeah, definitely have an answer for when you were in a high pressure situation. And then that's like the part where you've prepared for the interview, and that's all up to you prepping your experience and your answers and things like that. Then after that you are sent home, and you are given an email within a week to tell you whether or not you have gotten the job. Yeah, and that is pretty much the interviewing process. Again, I will try and attach some forms below with some of the questions or stuff like that for the interview to see if I can help in any way. Thank you very much for watching this video, and please let me know if this helps you. I will be starting cabin crew again sometime this year, so please keep an eye out for my cabin crew videos if you'd like to see them. And all the best of luck to you guys that are about to interview. Hopefully see you in the skies at some point. Thank you. Thanks for watching.